What's going on? What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name's Rob. We're in the garage. Um, First of all, thank you for everybody's been subscribing. It means the world to me. I appreciate you guys, the real MVPs. Today we're going to talk about how to determine a rear end gear ratio the simplest way I know possible. You could take out the pinion, count the teeth, and then take out the ring and count the teeth too, but we're not doing all that, right? Most of the time, if you're doing this, you just get into a junkyard, you're looking for a new rear end, and you're trying to determine what rear gear is in there. So you don't need a lot for this. Matter of fact, all we'll need is a jack handle, and some tape. There's a lot that goes actually into it as far as it being in the car, such as tire size. For example, I think every tire or every gear manufacturer either goes off of a 26 or 27 inch tire. I don't remember which one, I'm sorry, but for an example, my Duster has 410s in it, but it's got a 32 inch tall 14 wide slick on it. With that, it acts more like a 373, or with my street tires on, it's got a 315/60 radial, which is about 30 inches tall. It's more like a 390. I was told that the Fox body has 373s when I bought it, but we're going to determine if it really does. So let me jack up the rear end and we'll get started. First thing, add shock blocks to the front. Make sure she's not in gear. Then you jack away. Next, slide in your jack stands and lower it car ever so slightly on the jack stands. The way you know you did it right is you hear a good pop. Alright, next we're into the car. You want to get your blue masking tape. You want to put a piece right here on the input flange and a piece on the tire. So do that. Like I said, you don't want to put your tape on. Let's get a nice little piece right there. It's probably not going to stick. Super dirty. Let's try the drive shaft. Hey, it sticks to the drive shaft. That works. Next, let's get a little piece on the tire. Alright. From here, you want to turn your tire one full rotation and count how many times your drive shaft spins. So, alright, so there we have 1, 2, 3, 4 complete turns. Alright guys, so what we just did is we determined our rear end gear ratio, something you go to a junkyard and do. If it would have been 373s, the tape on the drive shaft would have stopped directly on the side or just a tad bit before it, but it didn't. It was almost at the bottom when the piece of tape on the tire was straight down where we started. So hopefully you can go to a junkyard or whatever, or if you're buying a car, you can use this information. Now I'll explain a little bit about what gear ratios is. I'm not trying to make this video super long, so I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible. The way we're going to do that is I got this handy dandy little whiteboard from the Dollar Tree. So we're going to talk about it, right? So here we have 289s. 289 is a higher ratio, and that's something you want on the highway, right? So the drive shaft's going to spin 2.89 times to get the tire to turn once. So it's going to keep it out of the RPM range, your optimum RPM range, longer, right? So your 390s is a lower gear. It's more of a highway / hot street gear. It's something that's really good for a 5-speed car or 6-speed car or something like that. If that car was so happened to be a C4, it would probably want 410s or 430s. So I mean, anywhere between 373s, 430s is a pretty good street / performance gear, right? So 513 is a even lower gear than your 390s or your 289s. And you're basically going to see that in race cars, right? By race cars, I mean like a naturally aspirated or a nitrous motor, something that's going to get it up in the high RPM ranges faster. So the reason you lower your gear or you put a higher number in there, i.e. lowering your gear, is to get it to the RPM range that you need to use to make the most amount of power. Same thing is basically a converter, right? So your gear, your converter, if it's automatic, and your cam and your intake, it's all a combination, right? You can go out there and buy the best parts ever. If it's not a good combination, it's not going to be as fast as, let's say, somebody that doesn't have as good as parts, right? But has a really good combination that just works. That's what you're looking for. We'll kind of real quick kind of go over it, kind of like a dyno graph, right? So hopefully, if you're looking this up, you've seen like what a dyno looks like. So over here we have our power and then our RPM. So 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000. Our Mustang over there makes peak power right around 5,800 RPM, and it starts making power right around 3,500 RPM. I don't know why I put a point there, but you get it. 3,500. So the key, since it's a 5-speed car, the converter is not necessary. It's all where you drop the clutch, right? So if you had a 3,000 stall converter, that converter is going to slip right up until you get to 3,000 stall. So basically, as soon as you hit it, it should flash up to 3,000 and then slip until the motor catches up and stays at 3,000 and then it starts pulling. So, but in a clutch car, it's basically wherever you drop the clutch. So let's call this time. We're kind of going to write on here too. So we're kind of going to mess this up, but let's say time. So here's our 289, right? So it's going to take that amount of time to get to 6,000. Okay. And so we'll call it time. This is going to be less time, right? Or 390s. Okay. And then the 513s. So up here is less time, down here is more time. The goal is to get it to this number right here as fast as possible. And then we're shifting, the shift light comes on at 5,800. By the time I typically shift, it's about 6,100. The goal, I don't know if I already said this. If I did, I apologize. The goal is to, whatever you're trying to do with the car. So for me, I'm about drag racing. So I want it to go through the finish line in our 1-to-1 gear, which is 4th gear in that car. It's a T5 car. Go through the finish line at peak power. Peak power is 5,800 RPMs. We're going to get through the finish line 57, 58, 5,900 RPMs, and that's perfect. And that's basically what it does now. So that gear is just right for that car. Now, once I put a set of heads on it, a turbo on it, it's probably going to change because it's it's going to breathe better, so therefore it's going to spin faster. So I probably will have to drop down to 355s, 373, somewhere around there. If it's in a C4 car, 3rd gear is your 1-to-1. Same thing, you want it to go through the lights at your optimum power. Now, determining what you're going to do will determine the gear ratio that you want. So if you're going, highest mile per hour possible, salt flats, something like that, something you're running like 3 or 4 miles down, or you want like a highway, really good cruiser, you don't really care about it being fast, you're going to want, your 289s, your 300s, your 323s, your 305s, somewhere around there. If you want like a, stoplight to stoplight car, you're going to want some 410s, 430s, your drag race and stuff like that. Or if you got a track dedicated car, kind of, my Duster's still a street car, but if I was to, put it on the drag strip with either an all motor or a nitrous setup, it would have, 513s, 528, something like that. Now, different applications require different gears, such as turbo cars, want more of a grunt, so 323s, 355, something like that, instead of the 410s that's already in it, or 430s, 456s, whatever. But hopefully I didn't confuse you. Hopefully you got this. If you're building your car, man, go out there. If your rear end blows up, go check, see what gear ratios in that rear end you're about to buy, or that car you're about to buy. And then right there, you can tell the owner if he's full of shit or not, if you're buying a car off of somebody. So that's going to do it for me. I appreciate you staying tuned. If you're watching this the day this release, happy Sunday. If not, happy whatever day it is, brother. I appreciate you guys. If you enjoyed this video, slap that like button. And if you want to, go ahead and hit that subscribe. You can stay up to date on all of our new stuff that's coming out. Way more race car stuff coming out. If you want me to do technical stuff, I will. Let me know down in the comments. I appreciate you guys. Peace.